There you go. All right, terrific. Thank you guys again for being here today. And today is a little special. I'm actually going to do something a little different than what we normally do. So, Nadu, you want to go ahead and put up the Jamboard? So I know some of us have access to a computer, some of us don't. Please just take a look at the screen if you don't have access to a computer, but we want your participation. This is going to be a very, engaging session. So go ahead and put in the Jamboard on the chat. Please go ahead and connect to it. Let me know when you guys are all there. Dun, 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 dun. All right, there.
Rick, Feroz Karim has a question. He raised his hand.
Go for it. What's the question?
Feroz?
That's okay.
Oh, yeah, I'm using my Zoom app. I guess I must have hit the button accidentally. My bad.
It's okay.
No problem. All right, so we're all going into the Jamboard. It looks like several of us already in there. So again, this is a really interesting session for me because it covers two areas of focus. One is structured leadership approach, interesting word, and this whole idea of career path. Those are two areas of focus that has always been lingering in me and lingering in a lot of people asking me questions. How do I get to be an Agile coach? How do I get to be an enterprise coach? And then because I work with leaders, they're constantly telling me, well, what is the next level of leadership? What is this next step that I need to go to? Do you have a roadmap for me? Do you have a waterfall project for me on how to get there? So they're constantly giving me this. So I wanted to actually go through the concepts of the capabilities that you need to have in today's world to be a current leader. But I'm not doing it alone. You guys are all going to help me through this journey. Okay, so that's really what I want to focus on. So I have several activities that are going to walk you through. First of all, I want to make sure everyone is in the board. Is anybody having issues with getting into the Jamboard? And I understand if you don't have your computer, you can't get in. I got that one. Is anybody having issues? And we just put a Jamboard up there. Grab the link. All right. I'm giving a
Lori, the link is in the chat. You can get to the chat.
Rick, could I take a second? This is for Anna. Good evening, Anna. I'm sharing this for you.
Oh, how sweet. Why don't you share it with all of us? That looks great.
Is that a green tomato?
Guava?
Yeah, it looks like.
Oh, baby guava from your backyard. Yes.
Yeah, I thought of you when I harvested it.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Bob.
I miss you, Bob. Oh my goodness.
Me too, me too.
All right, so hopefully everyone's in. If not, once you get in, you can just follow along with us. So the exercise works. So we're going to go ahead and move the frame. So this is frame 1. If you notice on the top, you're on frame 1 of, what is it, 6? Because I can't see. I hope it says 6. And then what we're going to do is we're going to move to the next frame. So you can look at our screen and you can also look at your browser that you should have open, and you should go to the next screen. So the next screen very quickly. So these are some structured adult stages. Just like you have children's stages, there's adult stages in life, right? And they're telling us that you go through certain stages to get to the point where you're a catalyst, you're a visionary. And in a high level, they talk about 3 main stages. One stage of leadership is you become an expert at what you do. So you're very tactical, you're very detail orientated, and you're getting that work done. You become the expert. Everyone calls on you to be that expert. Then they say the next step of leadership is when you step away and you're more of a strategic, right? You've been hired to now maybe manage several people and manage maybe even a team, and now you're actually moving the puzzle, trying to look at the vision of the future. Okay, I'm strategic. The next level of leadership, they mention something of visionary or catalyst. This is where you're actually looking at not just strategic, but you're looking at setting the foundation of your team so that they can work in a way that they're high performing, right? So you're setting the groundwork for them to perform at the highest level. So there's different groups out there, or different views of going through those stages. But that's great. You guys can read up on that and give us more information. But what I want to do is I want to take a step back. So go to the next slide. Next slide.
Sorry, can you see it? What happened? Oh, there you go.
What color is Wilbur?
So this is the first question that I would ask you guys. I want you to give me a ton of different, list out all the capabilities that you need to be a leader. Okay, so go ahead and put some stickies there. I'm just curious on your take of what are some of the capabilities you need to have to be a leader. Put them up there. Brain dump. Brain dump means everyone can just put their items there. Try to group them if you see similar ones, but let's just get some going. Empathy, I love it.
How do I add it?
What's that? Okay, good point. So if you've never been to Jamboard, this is the way you work. On the left side, you'll see a toolbar, right? And if you click on, there's like a sticky. I think it's called sticky note. See how bad my eyes are. You click on that sticky note, and then you can go ahead and type something. Once you type,
I found it. Thank you.
It's like, I got it, Rick. I got it the first time you said it. Stop wasting my time. And she just started here the first day. She's already making me look bad. All right. All right, so let's move them around if they're the same
Not
words.
making you look bad. You're such a great leader that you explained so fast. I got it. You look great. Don't worry.
Great job. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. So again, please try to not repeat the same words that are there, so that we can have different types. Again, think about the best boss you've ever had. You remember that person? What did they have? What did they have? Oh, I love grit. Who put grit? I'm just curious who put grit.
That would be me.
That was Bob?
I don't think it was Bob. Maybe Bob did too. Maybe it was two of them up there.
No, it wasn't me.
Who was it?
Mike the
Oh,
Roman.
Mike, awesome.
Go,
Thank you.
Mike. Awesome.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
it.
Mike. Grit. Wow.
Okay, so here's my question. Did you say capability like a skill? Because honesty is not a skill. It's not even a capability.
I like it.
Humility, neither of the two. Grit, neither of the two. You getting the trend here? So are you asking for skills, capabilities, or are you asking for characteristics?
Right now, I'm actually open to anybody just have a brain dump, and then we can concatenate it and say, okay, this is more of this area, this is more of this area. I just want to have just general dialogue right now with people and thinking about your leader and what they had. But you're right that some of the classifications might not be exactly. So I'm okay with just getting, what do you feel behavior-wise, capabilities, just have a dump right now. I'm not really going to judge anyone at this point. But Ray is always that guy that's always so perfect. And I wish I could be more like him. He's really, really good. Thank you, Ray. I appreciate that.
Thank you for the compliment.
You make me so much better.
My wife is laughing at me based on what you said.
Oh my goodness. She's got to, hey, you guys got to come down here, you know, so at least we haven't seen you guys in a while.
We'll have to make another trip.
That would be, oh, we got to make it up there. All right. So
either way.
So let's start grouping, guys. Let's start grouping. Let's start grouping. Look for opportunities to group. Who wants to help me group? Marcelo, are you helping there to group? Are you looking for Ray? Are you looking for ways to group some of this?
Yep, I'm looking. I'm looking.
Okay, so let's pause. We're getting too much request. Okay, too much request. Pause a second so we can group them a little bit. And I want you to do this. As they're grouping it, I want you to look for your top 3. Okay? Just as they're grouping it, just think of which out of all this right here would be your top 3. I might just tell you the top 1, just top 1. Okay, did you find your top 1? Marcelo, I'm going to ask you a question. Are you there, sir?
Yes, sir. I'm trying to group stuff. Well, first I'm trying to.
I'm going to make you work. I'm going to make you work while you're grouping, multitasking. Unacceptable.
Okay.
Marcelo, do you see any of them that are shocking to you or anything that stands out for you?
Anything that's shocking to me?
Yeah.
Honestly, with regards to most managers I've seen, I'll tell you the one that shocks me the most is the word patience. Patience.
Why is that?
And the reason I say that is because the most supportive managers that I found had enough foresight to be patient about what they understood really took time.
Yeah.
The ones that were not supportive managers were the impatient ones. They're the ones who started. They're the ones who started with the word when, or how much, you know,
Totally agree.
or when you shared with them some perhaps qualitative but substantive but qualitative concerns, they would say, but why?
I think the one that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, so patience is the one that surprised me the most, to be quite honest with you.
I have no time for patience.
I think the one that sticks out to me, or at least I found interesting, is the polite one.
The polite one?
I would say that one probably would go with humility.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, those two are like right there together, right alongside with empathy, because you're gonna have to have
humble.
Yeah, you're gonna have to be.
Yep.
You know,
which is the most difficult to master? Which is the most difficult one?
I would say humble. It's
humble.
Check your ego, man. Check your
humble.
ego.
I like that. Humble.
It depends on
the ego. Right?
Depends on the person, right? I mean, some leaders are humble, and that's just their nature. And some people, like you said, they have an ego, so it's more difficult for them.
I think being a good listener is hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do, so this is a great start, guys. This is a great start. So what we're going to do now is let's start with listener. I'm just curious about listening. So if we go to the next screen and somebody just put listener there, just put a sticky called listener. Thank you. Now, I need your advice. I need your coaching. So how would you help someone build up this capability? Is this considered a capability? Ray, I want to make sure, I don't know if is that a capability for you or is that a skill?
Well, you know what? What's that joke? The first time, shame on me. The second time, what is it? Shame on you? Or the other way around?
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Shame on me.
Does it pass the rate test?
Well, you got to ask yourself. You got to ask yourself when you think of the word capability. Capability is an active adjective. You got to ask yourself: is it I canna or I have a? So, do I have discretion or can I exercise discretion? Which one is it you're looking at when you say look at discretion, for example? Is it something active or is it something passive?
Ask Victoria. She just posted a definition.
Yeah, I looked that up a while ago when we were doing the CAL, the difference between a capability and a skill.
Good old Google.
Yep, capability is about outcomes.
Ah, so it's a can I.
Yep.
It's a can I. Okay.
What can I, what outcome am I going to get from this? It's not just a learned skill. It's, I'm doing this for an outcome, for a reason, and it's a quantifiable, something I can look at and measure or just understand. That's how I read it. I always go a little further, so.
Right. Huh.
So what do we define listener?
I would think listener is a skill.
I would see that as a capability. It develops trust. It develops, it makes the other person feel more open to listen to you as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but if you don't have good listening skills, you don't have the capability.
Sorry, what were you saying? I wasn't listening.
So
Mel's got jokes tonight. Oh, but he's got jokes tonight.
Okay, maximum Bob was supposed to have been last week.
So I guess we might have an argument for both. You need to develop the skill in order to have the capability.
Is that like a nurture versus nature conversation? Do you nurture it or do you have it?
That's a good point.
I think you gotta have it, right? As a leader, you gotta be able to listen, because you can be really smart, but you're gonna run into a wall, or you're gonna run into some serious dangerous situations if you don't listen to people. And if you don't listen to people, then you can't build relationships, right?
Agreed.
All right, so let's go through this exercise a second. Let's try this out, okay? So the idea behind this is that how would you help someone build up this capability? And can you measure it? So here we're talking about, again, people come to me all the time. I want to be a better coach. How do you get to this? So if one of my capabilities or skills is listener, be a better listener, how do we do that? How do we help them? What are some things that we can do to get them to the next level? And then can it be measured? So your job is to put some stickies up there of how you would help somebody become a better listener. And then after that, you would put some stickies that maybe say, and this is how I would measure that the person is performing or improving or whatever. You're the coach. Talk to us. Put it on stickies, put it on the board, and we could talk to it.
Why doesn't this work?
Okay, like it?
If somebody could be kind, since my my Jamboard is not jamming anymore. If somebody could be kind and create a sticky for learn how to be silent, it would be greatly appreciated.
Learn how to be what?
How to be silent.
Silent. You got it.
Thank you, Saba.
I'm a New Yorker. I can't do that.
Well, we're from the same place, so.
So can I please ask a question, Rick? Did you say, how do you help somebody become a better listener, or how do you become a better listener?
So they come to me all the time and they're asking me, I want to improve my skill sets. I want to be, and one of the things that I tell them, okay, you got to be a better listener. Great, but that's not good enough. We should give them either, this is what I've learned to become a better listener. This is how I've done this. So you're kind of coaching them and you're giving them little tidbits to say, these are things that you should be considering to get to be a better listener. And then the last question to that was, now that you gave them all these tools or these conversations and coached them and all that, how can you prove to yourself or to them that they're actually improving?
Yeah.
What quantifiable or qualitative measurement do you want to prove to them that, hey, because remember, it's all about improving your capabilities. And if you can't measure it, how can you say you're getting better, right?
So I guess the question is, I can speak less, say less, learn how to be silent, pay attention, but neither of those help me really listen to somebody if I can't repeat what it is that you said to them.
I love it. I love it. So that's our next exercise, to pick which one out of all these things would we highly recommend. So I love the way you're already moving to the next step there, but let's let everyone fill that out and see what else.
Sorry, I thought that was your question, so I apologize, I misunderstood.
No, it's good. All right. So again, your job is to look at these things and try to look for the one that says, this is the one. This one will take us to the promised land. Which one is it? And I think Ray kind of talked a little bit toward anything else that you see out there that's crucial. Anybody? We're open to the floor here, so don't worry about it. This is an open dialogue.
I see one that says, ask them to recite what you just said. That sounds interesting, but I'm thinking if you're talking to someone and you want to know if they're listening based on their body language or based on how they respond, you can visually see if they're listening or paying attention to you. And I'm not quite sure if it's appropriate to ask them to repeat what you just said. But I'm new here, so you guys just tell me.
I love what you're saying, but I'm going to tell you something that's going to be really depressing. I have had conversations where I was dizzy like hell, and I was just going like this. That's okay, I listened. But it was just like overwhelming, and I was just like, I'm not able to even speak up. So I would be careful with thinking that somebody got the point just because they're nodding their head or because they're actually, I've even seen people where they try to repeat the last few words that you say to think that they got the full understanding, but they didn't.
Yeah.
Once they kind of say it in their own words, but you're right that it's uncomfortable. Like, what do you mean? Why are you drilling me back and telling me to speak what you just said, what you don't trust that I understand what you said? It's also very uncomfortable to even say that. So I love what you're saying, and that's real valuable.
Maybe we could do it in a different way. Maybe we can ask them in a different way. Probably by saying, okay, what's your opinion? How do you think that we can handle it? Or something like that that's more positive and not too
right.
touchy.
It's asking the powerful questions and reiterating back to them what they said in your question.
Yeah.
And it's a coaching exercise. You for a certain amount of time you listen, and then for a certain amount of time, based on the body language, you know when to jump in. So you are absolutely right. It's all about the body language, in my opinion. You know when somebody's pausing, but you also know when they're thinking versus ready for a question. So you just have to practice.
Yes, ask them to recite. Does it mean that we have to ask them?
Yeah.
You can pretty well, like, rephrase it in a different way. So, and like Victoria said, ask the powerful questions. So, and an open-ended one that they can tell you what they understood.
Right.
Okay. That's a good point.
That's one thing about being a good listener, especially in a coaching situation. You're helping them find the answer for themselves. You're not dictating or giving them advice. You're listening and leading them down the path to self-awareness and pretty much solving their own problem just because it's in them. They know it. You got to help them get it out.
I hope none of your spouses are near you when you're having this conversation.
No, not at all.
Is it wrong to say only surround yourself with interesting people and purge those that aren't?
I'm telling you, Mel's got jokes tonight.
I do have a question, probably a dumb one, but what?
Never.
Who or what do you mean by dojo sessions? I'm really curious about that one.
Marcelo, is that yours?
That sounds like a Marcelo thing, doesn't it?
No, that curiously enough isn't mine. But I mean, I think I know what they're talking about. But I would like for that person to out themselves and explain what their thinking is.
That was me, guys. This is MC. And it's along those same lines, and other people had said it here. It's all practice, you know, putting yourself in a place where you can practice and learn and hone the skill, I guess.
Okay. Okay.
So-
Gotcha. Thank you.
So a lot of the conversation I've been hearing has been addressing how one can become a better listener, but not been addressing how you can coach somebody else to become a better listener, which I think was the original question, if we were listening.
Good point. There are a couple of things up there. Teaching and someone how to ask powerful questions. I put up there learning exercises. You alternate. One person listens for 10 minutes. The other person listens for 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's kind of what I put.
I
Here's
do
one
have to.
saw that someone put that says be fully present.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's a very good one. I agree with you.
I'm thinking about something similar to pair programming. So you have pair listening. So if you're there with them, and then you can monitor what they, you know, based upon their actions, you can like kind of keep a checklist like, well, and you can intercede and say, like what I just did. I'm not sure that we were actually listening there, or whatever it might be. So I think it's got to be, you know, a live interactions that you know exactly what they were listening to and what they might have missed.
Well, I love that idea. In fact, like I do that with coaches, especially with beginning coaches. We'll go in a session together and I'll let them read the room. And then we come out of that room and the first thing I'm going to ask, so what did you observe? What did you see? And you're getting that feedback right from them to see if they were able to catch some of the things, and maybe you forgot something. But it's a great way of actually pairing. Love it. Love it. So great. You guys gave me several things. I like that. But remember where my challenge lies. I got a new person. They want to learn. So the question I have for you is there stepping stones in this process? Or how long does it take for someone to move, and how are we going to measure whether they're getting better or not? What tools or what method would you recommend to see if they're improving? So first question is there, when you think about, you know, getting this skill to speed, do you see a progression of how you would help coach them? Do you see steps in that direction? And is there a way to measure that they're moving in these steps? And the reason why I'm telling you this is because I started the session by telling you that there's this whole theory behind leadership, you know, structured leadership approach or development. And they're saying that some of these skills you will improve and you will expand as you move up the ladder. And I'm curious if this is one of them. So first question is, do you have steps on what you would execute to help somebody become a better listener? How would you coaching them? You got somebody right now, your son, my son right now. What's my first step to helping him become a better listener?
Duct tape his mouth.
Huh?
Duct tape his mouth.
Take away the video games.
We're keeping this non-violent Wednesday, folks. Non-violent communication Wednesday.
Hey, we're not going to let Mel come in here anymore. Let's mute Mel's line. But no.
I think you start with learning how to be silent.
Yeah.
You need to be silent.
Let's put that down. Okay, good.
It's
so
there.
learn how to be silent first. Be quiet and just listen. Just try to absorb and don't predetermine what you're going to say. Just listen through it. That's a good start. Everybody like that as a first start, or does anybody have another? Go ahead, Victoria.
You would definitely want to get the point across that you're trying to teach him something. If he doesn't know that you're trying to teach him something, it'll go in one ear and out the other if I know anything about teenage boys.
So a step before that one is that they have to accept the learning. They want to learn. They want to. So they see it as a blind spot. Should they be aware that this is something that I'm not that good at? Should they actually have that? Should that be the first step? And then they
You have to have a conversation with them, though. They either some kind of, and it just takes me back to my coaching class where you ask them, do they want to be taught or do they want to be coached?
I love it. Love it.
So you're not going to say you're not listening well. That's kind of chastising them, but you want to find a way to let them know that we're going to work on your listening skills.
Love it. So we got a first step. We got.
So I think I was going to say even before that, because all of this really depends on the person. Some people like to talk a lot. Some people they're okay. Right? So I think somehow you have to even know the person before you can begin.
Wow. Now you're going into the coaching aspect of it that you got to understand before you even approach that. You got to first understand them and feel comfortable with them and get to know that.
Right. That trust has to be there.
But back to the person. Okay. So now we know that the person needs help. We know that we're working through them. We started with getting them to be silent. What's the next step of evolution for them?
Maybe you can
know they have
practice
a
with
problem.
Huh?
Do they know they have a problem?
So we said that we were going to, they acknowledged that they had a problem before we acknowledged that they had a problem before we told them to do the silent stuff. So that was prior to that.
Okay.
So
Now comes the question of your relationship with that person. You may not be the person, because and I'm going to go to the analogy that you use of your son. You may not be the person that can help them. You might need to have somebody else step in and help you do that, because that person may not be receptive to you as they would be for someone else.
Okay, I love that.
That's a good point, because the context, the situation of if you're talking to somebody, if a police officer is talking to you, there's a context. Just by the fact that he's a police officer. If it's a father talking to his son, I know I have that. or if it's you're talking to a colleague and getting feedback from them versus your boss. So who says it and just the situation you're in is really important.
I love that.
It's like trying to talk to your spouse.
I think after you learn how to be silent, the next thing you need to learn is how to clear your mind and listen. So you're not thinking of something else. You're not trying to interpret and reinterpret what I'm saying. Simply clear your mind and listen to what the person is saying.
That's perfect. That's to be present. You have to be present.
Present in the moment.
I don't think that's a conscious thing. I think more important is they have to become open to new ideas, because to listen, you've got to be open. If they have a closed mind, you can talk and talk and they're not going to listen.
I think there's a step before that, you guys, because with my ex,
duct tape their mouth.
and this is following
I like the duct
up
tape idea.
This is following up on Joe's. With my ex, even if he was quiet and silent, if I did not get his attention by maybe touching him, he didn't hear me.
That's true.
Shaba, what did I say before? No spouses.
And no touching. It's the Me Too movement.
There's one thing we didn't mention, and that's just emotional intelligence, right? And then listening goes back to being empathetic as well. You need to be empathetic. You need to listen first. So those are, I guess, some other tools.
Yeah, but I think you guys are overcomplicating the fact that if you're going to be a good listener, there's just some very basic things that you need to do. Okay, the first one was you need to accept that you need to work on that. Okay, that makes sense. You need to accept, and I think this is what Art said when he was doing the interview, he needed to learn how to be silent. Because if he's not silent, he's not paying attention. I think the next one, Saba touched on it, because I know how to do this very well. I need to clear my mind. I can't be thinking about other things. I need to be paying attention to what you're telling me so that I have the capability, so that I have the ability is probably the better verb. So I have the ability to come back and say, Saba, I believe this is what you said. Is that correct? The emotional intelligence, the situational, that I think goes beyond someone just being able to listen well.
So I love what you said, Ray. And as you were saying that, I was thinking of something else.
You weren't listening.
He wasn't listening.
I was thinking that for some reason, there's also people learn differently. So when someone's speaking, maybe verbally, that's one thing. But if it's written down, it's something easier for you to absorb. If you're not aware of where your strengths are in understanding others, that could also be a hindrance to you, right? Just listening to what you're saying, I might not be, yes, I am listening, but I can't absorb everything. That's not in my character. You know what I am? I'm a very visual person. If you put a graph or you put something, then you got my attention. Then I actually follow you. And then my attention, again, back to knowing yourself, my attention span, knowing your attention span and how quickly you try your best, but you need to stop a second, absorb. Sometimes I actually tell, and this is back to my wife, I'm sorry, I actually tell her, let's finish one conversation at a time because you're just throwing too many things at me and I can't absorb. That's kind of knowing myself a little bit more than that.
Are you sure it's Regina throwing the multiple conversations?
You know, I thought of something too. Like, did you ever be in a meeting where you're speaking with someone and the person that's speaking has broken English or they're from a different country and it's hard to understand? To me, I always try to listen even more so that I'm getting the message or I'm inputting what they're trying to say. So that's, you know, another layer of complexity with trying to listen.
Yeah, and that's a good point, Joe, because I've worked with a lot of people from like Egypt, India, China, Brazil, and I found it very hard to understand what they were saying until I did simple things like clear my mind, stop thinking about two things at one time, and I just try to pay attention to them. And as Rick said, sometimes it went from a conversation to both a visual picture plus a conversation because they could understand pictures better than they could understand the English language. So to both of your points, I think those are very good points that you gentlemen make.
Good question. Are there two parts of listening for content and listening for meaning? And is listening for content an easier skill to develop and maybe a stepping stone?
That's a good question.
There's a whole thing on communication that I'm actually trying to go to a class that I was in college where it's a matter of the messenger or someone that's speaking, trying to deliver a message, and then the receiver from the person who's listening and trying to decipher what that message is and break it out so that they can understand it and receive it. So there's a whole model on that.
But I love what because I say one word. I bet if we write it down, something different, and I bet each person will have a different interpretation of what I just said.
Yeah.
So it's and you could say a bad word, and yet it sounds okay to some certain people. You know, it's an interesting conversation about knowing other people and really having that cultural, you know, awareness of how they live their life. Bob speaks to me very strong sometimes. I'm telling you that anybody interpreting how Bob sometimes talks to me, they're like, what's going on? And I know him from the inside. I know him and I'm very comfortable with him. And I know that it comes from the right place. And that's what I used to tell people. And for some reason, one of the most difficult things to do as a coach is to say to yourself, anything that's coming to me, I'm going to take it as they're trying to give me advice or they're trying to tell me something, and I'm not taking it in a negative way. And I know that's a weird way of kind of, you know, digesting things, but I've seen so much chatter where the majority of the thing is chatter, and then really they're just trying to give you this message. But if you just concentrate on the chatter, you lose it.
Yeah.
And you can get upset and you can get angry and you can get personal and you can get all this frustration. But if you look at the internal message of what they're trying to tell you, oh my God, I'm actually appreciative of them telling me those things. Paul? You raised your hand? I don't know if that was.
I was just saying, yeah, that's me. You just, I react like that. I gotta fix that. Yep.
Yeah. So the exercise, just to understand what we were trying to do here, I was trying to prove out this whole concept of helping team members mature through their levels, right? Through their stages. There isn't a cookie cutter, it sounds like. The way you guys are talking about, yeah, these are some possible steps. And yeah, there could be some kind of structure to this, but it's going to be really related to the individual to make sure that they can absorb it the right way. So when I started the session to tell you there's these different stages of an expert, a strategic, of this, and there's going to be capability for each of these stages, I think we have to take that with a grain of salt as we start teaching and coaching people, okay? So this was the first exercise to say we learned something, we kind of matured through it, but back to measuring, I still have a concern here. How do I know that the person's getting better, and how do they quantify that?
How about we just ask them? Because if they came and tell us that they want to improve their listening skills, that's something that they recognize that they want to improve. So I would recommend the first thing is, yes, acknowledging that you want to improve. And then the second thing is to practice. That person that wants to improve continuously practice listening.
But how do I know? But how do I know that they're getting better? I want to measure it. I want to 10 push-ups today. Tomorrow I want to do 20.
When you don't have to tell them something 20 times.
By
the first time does it.
By their actions.
Yeah. Peer review, because otherwise it's subjective.
Why not just get feedback? Why not just ask them, or ask the person that is listening, ask them if they think they improved their skills, and also ask the person that they spoke with.
Well,
you could do a survey and ask.
Ask, I like it. Peer review. What else did we suggest? Ray?
How about their ability to repeat and paraphrase what was said?
I love it. So you could do an exercise where you say, here, what did you hear, and how did you pair? But I guess you got to quantify it as a coach. You got to say, yeah, you got the 7 bullet items of what I told you. You passed. Was it a test? Yeah. Is it some kind of interesting? That's a good one. Yeah. Okay, anybody else?
Yeah.
I have a question.
It's by their action or performance, because if they're really listening to you and you're kind of explaining something to them, and they take that ball and run with it and do it properly, then you know they were really listening.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Marcelo. You were saying something?
Well, what you guys have just been talking about, I know I stepped away, but I was listening, is actually used in therapy. It's a therapeutic pattern. It's called the bridge, and it's used in couples therapy, parent-child therapy, where basically you are both on a bridge, and you say, I join you here. I'm here to hear you as you are. And the person says whatever is on their mind. They share what they have to say to you. And after they've spoken and you have to presence them, your job is to turn around and say, I heard you say, and you paraphrase, repeat back to them, and I understand it to mean, and then you pose the question, and it's an invitational question, say, did I get you? And they can either tell you, yes, you did, and you can say, tell me more, or no, you didn't, and say, where did I not find you on the bridge? And you keep elaborating little by little to get more and more connected with that person, okay? So if you guys have never tried that, I highly encourage you to try it. It's called the bridge, okay? Maybe sometime I'll post something up, an article on the website, Rick, so folks can try it out.
Well,
Yeah,
why a bridge?
Cool.
Why a bridge?
Because basically the point is that you're both at 2 different locations, and there is a chasm between the 2 of you that you are trying to bridge by coming closer together.
Awesome. Good. All right. Anyone else?
How do you measure?
Yeah. I don't know how to measure yet, but I once did an activity, but I think this is more not remote, having to be together, but I had my whole team and I paired people up and I gave them like a index card with an image, a clip art, and one person had to describe what was in the clip art, but not saying it's a house or what it is. And the other person had to draw it. And what that did was to understand if you're listening to me or if you're listening to the side conversations also, and if the person who is describing how that person also is speaking. So it's like many ways. Are you listening to the person who's speaking to you? Are you understanding that person? And are you engaged and not distracted by the others who are playing the same game?
Awesome. Thank you, Sylvia.
That's
Anyone
right.
else? Measuring.
I'm not sure if this would work, but I had an experience once where somebody left a voice message for me with some coaching basically on it. And I transcribed it and then re-listened to the message and found that I got a bunch of stuff wrong. And it was fascinating to see the things that I changed, where it was basically my bias was just put into the way I transcribed it. And I just feel like if that would, if there's a series of checkpoints where somebody sat down and did that themselves, they could understand and say, oh, well, these are the things that I'm still getting wrong. I still have this bias all the time when I hear something or something like that.
Wow. So the next level of listening is where you're able to remove your bias from your interpretation of it. And you're able to actually, so if you talk about levels of listening, that is probably the next level of leadership, right? To get that, that's awesome. And be aware of it, because you probably can't remove it, but at least you're aware of it, which gives you a point, right? Wow.
Which Paul makes an excellent point. And Paul, thank you for this afternoon. Because the conversations I have with Rick, the conversations I have with Art, the conversations I have with Marcelo, I may not be equally a good listener in all those conversations. So though you and I can measure me, it's really, as the person said previously, it's really a peer kind of thing. It's not how well you can test me to listen. It's how well I do it on a day-to-day basis across all the different people that I may have different biases. That's why what Paul said was so enlightening. How well I can do it in all those circumstances, not just the one-on-one tests. Because you and I can do this, and I can pay attention to you, and I can repeat to you exactly what you said. But I may not be that way with different people that I come into contact every day.
Wow, that's really good. And probably with different situation as well. Your body reacts different between how do you listen in pressure situations to how you listen to just when distractions are occurring. There's a lot of interesting things that we can put scenarios there to kind of mix up your
point.
Exactly. But if you and I work on it and I learn that skill, then maybe when I talk to Paul, when I talk to Mel, when I talk to Marcelo, I can train myself to repeat what I learned with you.
Right. And here's a question. When are we better listeners? Is there a time of day? Is there a day of the week? You know,
in the morning.
is it a play? I mean, is it a place? I mean, I feel more comfortable listening when I'm sitting in my office, or do I listen better when I'm in a conference room? I mean, is it situational?
Yes.
Yeah, 15 minutes after I get up, 15 minutes before I go to bed, 15 minutes before I tell you I'm hungry.
All right.
Don't be
1
hungry,
minute
don't be
after
full.
All right. So guys, all we did right now, think about this. We took one skill, capability, whatever we want to call it, and we decomposed it, and we're creating our own little exercise to try to move that along. Imagine if we were able to create that program for all the other skill sets, right? Or for all the other capabilities. And we have now an educational track for people, a coaching track, a career path that can lead from all this kind of discussion. So we want to kind of capture some of these things so that we can build off. You just built a great looking backlog with items there that we could go through the same exercise. But I'm still challenged with these different stages that they're giving me. This professional where you're diving in, you're in expert mode. That means you're a leader that goes into the expert mode. So I want you to think about what you just learned with listening. Okay? I want you to think about everything you just learned. And I want you to say to yourself, I am currently in an expert mode. I just started a job, and my job is to become expert at what I do. I don't worry so much about the other stuff. I just got to be hyper focused on what I'm doing. So when you think of listening, which listening skill do they need, or what level, here you go, what level of listening should they be at when they just need to get good at it? I need to get good at riding this bike. I need to get good at riding this bike. So what would be that category? The next step, okay, I'm good at riding the bike. I'm really, in fact, I am the best riding bike person you will ever meet. Right? Now now I gotta say, okay, I gotta get other people to ride bikes. And I gotta move the best bike rider over here. I gotta move away, and I gotta think more strategic. And then again, the next level is the visionary. It's not about me selling you the strategic, it's something that's part of it, but it's also about me setting the groundwork for you to succeed riding that bike. So what are the listening? Can anybody see how it links in or doesn't link in? I'm just curious for the group. Is there any tie-in to what we just discussed or none at all? Just curious.
You mean as far as listening being strategic, visionary, and how you would categorize that?
Yeah, I'm curious that as a capability and improving your listening skills to the point you saw, I love, where is he at? Where is it? Paul. When Paul started mentioning that the highest level of listening is when you're actually not even taking your or understanding your personal bias, and when you're regurgitating it, you're aware of it as you're bringing it back to places. That's, you got to be very, very in tune with the people you're communicating with, plus your social awareness, plus your situational awareness. You might have all that in tune to get to that next level. But maybe there are stages before that. I don't know. So I just threw that out there because I am challenged with that, because people are asking me, I need a career path. I'm a Scrum Master. I want to get to the next level. How do I move up the ladder? Is there really 3 stages in this leadership development, or do you think that this is not true, Rick? It's just about getting these capabilities higher and that's it. I'm just curious. Has anybody ever had a structured leadership approach to building your career, to building your leadership capabilities? Every time I ask this question, I don't get too much feedback. So I'm dying here. I need someone to think, have you ever gone through a program that has helped you expand your capabilities in a structured way that helped you move from different levels?
I don't think it's that easy, right? I mean, if you're talking about how someone goes from being a leader from point A to point B, well, there's a lot of factors. There's a lot of variables. There's your experience, your education, your interactions with the people, the position that you're at, and how listening, you know, if you're a good listener, what's the result of that? You take an action, right? You start developing more, you start getting more. And so it kind of builds and builds and builds and builds. So it's different for everybody. So I don't know how it's going to be kind of hard to box that. But there's certain things that I would say that contribute to that structured leadership. But it's different for everybody. Just my thought.
I think the program helps, definitely. Coaching to become a better leader definitely could be structured, because some people may not put attention to the qualities of the leaders, even though even though they kind of read, but the program would make it more emphasized, so they can focus on. For example, if we are not good listeners, we can't respond better either, right? It's a connection that we have to build from one skill to the other. I think the structured program would help to build that connection and see the progress also.
And what you just made me think about was this whole idea of how everything is interrelated and kind of creating a map that says, you need to have this mastering listening before you can get to here. And then you need to master this before. I was thinking of a whole Gantt chart, sorry. It's a connecting, connecting, but it makes sense, right? There are some preliminary skill sets that you need to master before you get to the next ones. And if you don't have a pattern, if you don't have a pathway to kind of help them, you're going to be jumping, and maybe even you're not going to be able to master it because you jumped over certain things that were crucial for you to get to the next level. And has anybody designed that, or has anybody invested in that? All right. Anyone else? Go ahead.
Yeah.
So I really liked what Davi just said. And at the same time, though, I have to question the basic premise, which is that there are these skills that you move through a progression of mastering, where I think, leadership development is really about developing enough capability with one that you can begin to develop the next, and that ultimately what happens as your growth isn't so much mastering a particular skill, but being able to apply more skills at the same time within a situation, so that my listening gets better, as she said, my responses get better, my interactions get better, my relationships get stronger, which leads to better listening, which leads to better decision making, which leads to, and so it's can you develop your ability to grow in multiple areas and recognize where you need to grow is really the leadership journey, right? So, and at the same time, you need to have awareness of, okay, work on this and work, because your bike riding example, well, first you need to learn to ride a bike, and then at some point, just riding a bike isn't going to be enough if you want to excel. You have to go into the gym and lift some weights, and you have to go and do some yoga so you're more flexible, and you have to improve your recovery process and so forth. So as you're trying to work on one, you need to expand your ability to do others.
Love it, love it. So again, I when you were talking to that, I could see the picture, which looked to me like we're a bar chart. We're constantly show the gauge of I'm improving here and I'm improving this, and this ultimately improves this. So it's like all tied in to ultimately get you to where you need to be. So beautiful, beautiful. Thank you very much. All right. So again, that was today's session. We have some other backlog items that we're probably going to work on maybe future sessions. But today was really to walk through this exercise so that you guys kind of get the grasp of how we coach and how we kind of work out, how to help people, right? There's a lot of ways of helping people, and you guys really contribute to this learning today. I think it was a very group effort approach. I think that's the only way we really absorb. So any questions before we close it up? Any questions?
One little comment. We talked a lot about listening tonight, but it's really communication. And yes, listening does include that. And there's a quote that says, "The art of communication is the act of listening." But communication is much more than just listening. And at one point we did talk about speaking and talking. And one of the things that I found that works for me, at least, is when you want to communicate or when you want to talk to someone, ask them first. Ask them if they'd be interested in hearing. ask them if they'd like some feedback. And if they say no at that moment, then they're not open to it. If they say yes, now you have their attention, and now you can talk and they're open to listening.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And I have failed sometimes in the past by not asking. I went straight into like, you know, hey, listen to me, listen, when I really should have stepped back a second, especially with my kids. My kids, there's times that I'm like, I'm doing my parent stuff every day, trying to get, but just sometimes it's over. You know, I feel like I'm not really getting to them. So I need to be, you know, courteous. Thank you. Anybody else?
One thing I wanted to add is I agree with the previous person that gave the comment about asking for feedback. I think it's good to ask for feedback. The honest truth is not everyone is open or comfortable in asking for feedback. So if you are a person interacting or communicating with someone, another way, maybe you can give them feedback in a polite way by saying something positive about them first before you tell them the feedback. For example, if I'm talking to someone, I can say, hey, you know what? You did this and this and this very well. However, I think you can improve a little bit more by if you do, and you give an example of how they can improve. And that way the person will be open and they'll be comfortable knowing that, hey, you're not just criticizing them, you're recognizing areas that they are doing well, as well as giving points of how they can improve.
I love that. And that's also been a challenge for me sometimes, where I would approach people and I would only approach them during bad news. And they didn't even want to see me anymore, because every time I go over there, there's always like something negative. So it's imagine changing that to say, look, it's also good things that you're doing. I want to make sure that I'm giving you that feedback. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else?
Is this session making everybody feel that, oh, it's very difficult to become a leader, or so much to do, so much to learn? I don't know. So many things to acquire.
I would say that I would say that when you, with these sessions and each topic that everybody has brought up, there are small considerations that you have to take into account on how you wish to affect people's lives and what you see in yourself that you have to view what has to improve. So being a leader, anybody can be a leader no matter what position you are or no matter what you do. The question is, how do you want to help people? And then that you know what are your strengths. And being a leader, it's also showing them that you are cognizant of your weaknesses and you create your own plan on how to attend those. So it's a journey, just like Agile. It's not a destination, it's a journey. So being a leader, you never stop going to that extent. You want to always keep on improving. It's like Agile. You keep on improving. So being a leader is the same thing. And I think that it is difficult. Yes, listening is challenging to us all. But if you really want to do it, you'll put in the work, because the benefits of this and even the satisfaction that you know that your leadership helped guide others will then be a lot more rewarding to you in the long run.
I think the first question is, why do you want to be a leader? Is it because you want to be in charge of people, or do you want to help people? That's going to make the difference.
There you go. Right there.
It's the difference between a leader and a manager.
Absolutely. One of the things I first learned in service is the leader's first job is to create other leaders. Mm-hmm. Don't forget that, Mr. Lopez. Sir, yes, sir.
You know, but it may not be that. It may be that you are in a position where you don't really have a choice.
All I think about when I think about leadership and the stuff that we talked about, it's way beyond work. This has to do with life and your family and your friends and your this. Leadership, in the way we discuss it a lot, is servant leadership. Yeah. It's the idea of helping people self-realize whatever they're aching, you know, whatever they're having issues with. And self-discovering yourself, like how do you work in that fashion and how do you help others better, right? It's just very humbling. It shouldn't be painful. All the work and all the stuff that we're trying to do we have the best job in the world, guys. All we're trying to do is help people. Come on, you can't find anything better than that anywhere. We're trying to figure out how to help them do what they do better and have a safe environment and be able to have healthy conversations and I'm sorry, there's no job like that. There's no job like that. So I don't think that is very taxing. I know it's not easy, but it is a great thing to go for. All right. So again, I'm trying to stay conscious of time, and we do like to finish on time as well. It's 7:25, and we want to finish up with a couple things. We talked a lot about listening today. That was really communication, bigger bucket for that. So we like to take a picture, okay? And this is the hat. So if you could find the hat and you could turn your videos on, Richard, if you could turn your video on, that would be great. You know, Mel, get back that video. Try to look for a hat, guys. I've got my bike here.
Yeah.
It's hard to take him seriously. He's got the helmet on.
I put my hat away, so I'm not gonna go get up.
You're not gonna go get your hat. Your hat was.
No.
Oh my
God.
God.
You gotta get that.
Wait, hang on. Paul got his hat. Paul got his hat. I gotta go get my hat. That's it.
It's just a little encouragement. That's all. That's all you need.
Oh, did you see Gladys's hat? Oh my God, so cute.
Wait.
Awesome.
Wait. Paul got his hat. Now I gotta get my hat. You know.
I'm telling you.
Paul's got that Indiana Jones thing going on. I'm sorry.
I don't
know. Sorry.
Oh my God.
I like the Mario hats.
Sylvia, what kind of hat is that? It's flowers?
Hat.
What is that? That's awesome.
No.
It's the closest thing I have.
I
don't have a hat next to me.
Indiana Jones hat's got it hands down. I'm sorry, man. The next thing he's gonna do is gonna take out a whip. You know?
Art's gonna be really upset, right? Because he always has the hat and he's not even here today. So
it's too bad.
Really depressing.
It's too bad. I'm sorry. It's just too bad.
All right. Are we ready? I got a few more people. Alfredo, you're going to be able to put on your, I don't know, D. Awesome. Come on. You got any hats out there?
Give me a hat.
You got a hat, Alfredo?
No. Alfredo, come on. Put on a hat.
All right. Come on. We're waiting for you. Let's go. We got places to go, people to see. And I'm hungry. And I got a bike ride. I got to ride.
Alfredo.
Helmet on. I got to ride.
3.
Okay, you ready?
2.
1. Smile. All right. I just took, you don't have to hold your smile, guys. Just so you know, I already got the snapshot.
All right. I'm serious, man. Oh, look at that. Barbara's got her Key West hat on. Awesome.
Oh, wow.
Do we have a theme each week of something different? Because I just so happen to have a hat next to me. I was lucky that I had one.
Yeah.
Next week,
yeah. Next week is lingerie.
Hang on. This is a PG-13 movie.
I'm dying to see Marcelo in his lingerie.
That's a PG-13 movie, man. God, come on, man. Can't
What is that? Look at that.
All right, guys. So again, we appreciate you guys being here. This is all about giving back. So I think I had a great time. Hopefully you guys did as well. We do have a race that always happens at this time. And some of us are fast enough and some of us are a little slow. I apologize. You know, the idea is once you get a link inside the chat, you got to quickly like the stuff in LinkedIn. And there's usually a couple winners out there. And luckily, Christina's not here today, so she's not going to win it for sure. But let's see. Omar always also has a quick trigger figure there, too. So he's very dangerous.
I've already gotten first post, so that's it. I've peaked.
So everybody, you guys
I peaked.
Marcelo beat you guys.
No, I peaked. I got it last weekend, and I'm good.
Okay, you got last week.
I'm good. I'll leave it for somebody else.
All right. Let's see who's got the. Are we ready? Hey, Lou, we'll put
Got
in
it. Who
It's
got it?
posting now. In any second. There you go.
You guys, some of the
Okay.
tools that people have used to refresh the screen, they said get the quickest, you know?
Okay. I just, before everybody goes, because I only got 20 people, but who here likes retrospectives? Come on, just want to see a show of hands. Awesome. Okay.
Who likes them or who doesn't?
Huh? I'm sorry?
The question is who likes them or who does them?
Okay, who likes retrospectives? The idea of retrospectives. Awesome. Okay, great. Fantastic. Keep your eyes peeled for October. That's as much of a spoiler alert as I'm going to give you. Okay? That's
You know
as
what,
much
guys?
of a spoiler alert.
Sorry, Coach.
Okay? That's it. That's as much of a spoiler alert as I'm going to